Hello and namaste, my beautiful friends. I'm Jill Loftus of Nuit Astrology. Welcome to your planetary energy forecast for the week of February the 10th, 2025. Now, this week is interesting in that many of the aspects we are experiencing this week are leftover from last week. They are energies that we've been steeped in for a while. These are longer wave aspects, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But these aspects are happening simultaneously this week with a very tense full moon in Leo. Now, this full moon on Wednesday experiences tension from the planet Uranus. Now, the planet Uranus is the modern ruler of the sign of Aquarius. And so the energy of Uranus relates to technology, to the internet, to the future in many ways. It is about freedom and rebellion. It is the planet that makes us uncomfortable with doing things the way they've always been done. And it is in the sign of Taurus, in the earth sign, that relates to money and finances, to the earth herself, to our supply chains and material wealth. It has to do with what we value, what's important to us. And so this week, that volatility is really in play with all of those types of rulerships, right? So currency, money, food, all of that has this element of uncertainty. Now, this could introduce weather-related events. Realize that you are in this energy as we start the week, so you're going to feel it all week. The full moon will just be when the volume gets cranked up a little bit. Why is that? Well, because we have the Sun and Mercury moving very closely together through the sign of Aquarius. And so this connection between the two of them, Mars or Mercury, whenever it's really close to the sun, sometimes it feels a little Mercury retrograde. It's like the brightness, the essence of the sun blots out the ability of Mercury to do its job, to communicate, to ease transport and the movement of ideas. And so as this Mercury is getting away from the sun, it steps immediately into this difficult angle with Uranus. So this could bring in shocking information. This is something that really cannot be predicted with any specificity because of the fact that it has to be shocking. It has to be Uranian. It has to be out of left field, right? So it's this, I keep getting this image of someone standing with their feet slightly apart with the knees bent, just kind of like ready to shift either way, ready to kind of pivot in some way or step back if needed or lean forward. This is the imagery I'm getting. And so that's a great way to kind of approach this week with that kind of flexibility and a certain level of preparedness and a certain level of, I'm going to be adaptable. I'm going to be able to react appropriately. This is really trusting yourself in many ways. So that is happening with Mercury, and then it will happen with the sun as well. And so then when the full moon hits, a full moon is the sun standing across from the moon, right? That is what the full moon is. Well, the full moon will pick up a T-square to that Uranian element. So that is even a more volume up type of situation. So we start the week with this energy, and then there's a crescendo in the center of the week, and then there'll be a certain amount of fallout, right? So adaptability is key. Now, the energies that we're bringing in from last week that you should already be sensing and feeling include a very positive flow of energy from the planet Mars in Cancer to Saturn in Pisces. And this is where that element of intuition, of deep feeling and inner knowing is key. The water element is an element of great power, but also very difficult to harness, right? It's a shapeshifter. It changes, it adapts, it flows, right? And so you need to be changeable, adaptable, able to flow. Now, even though there is that lovely flow of energy between Mars and Saturn, keep in mind that Mars is retrograde and Venus, newly in Aries, very passionate Aries, she's in her shadow. So with both of these symbols, either retrograde or in the shadow period, this is a time when you really can't count anything in or out until we get to the middle or even the end of May. So there is, again, this need to understand the larger cycles, to be a little bit more flexible, to have the aha moments, but move forward with caution, putting one foot in front of the other. Another energy that came from last week that we're basically in all month is that amplification of Neptune in Pisces by the North Node in Pisces. They are walking hand in hand. The North Node is the dragon's head, adding the flames of the fire to that Piscean dream of Neptune. So that introduces, I mean, you think of fire and water, what do you get? You get fog, you get uncertainty. So there's a certain amount of needing to rely on things you can't necessarily see or track, things that relate more to a feeling state or an intuitive state of things. And it's also a time when people can really be going firmly, strongly, confidently in the wrong way, in the wrong direction. And so it's important that we try to use wisdom balanced with intuition, right? You can't just use one, you have to use both. So this level of uncertainty, it might give you less confidence in the decisions that you're making, but it's more like following the little breadcrumbs that lead to something and that eventually you will be validated, right? So it's like taking small steps this week, taking small steps. Another thing to keep an eye on is we still have Mars in a clash with Chiron. Chiron is in independent Aries and Mars is in so sensitive and sometimes indecisive Cancer. And we're really, with this Chiron in Aries, we're trying to take responsibility, personal responsibility. We're trying to become more independent. We're trying to become more mature in our reactions to when we have something that hurts or something that feels, where we feel damaged, where we don't feel whole or complete. There's a certain amount of accountability here, but that Mars in Cancer could really be pushing our buttons, particularly when it comes to childhood material, issues that we have with the mother or the mother figure, issues that we have with our deep inner insecurities. Those could really be activated. And so we have to make sure we're not reacting to those. Instead, we're aware of them. Oh, thank you, Chiron, for making me aware of that sensitivity or that reactivity. I will work on that part of myself. So all of those energies are in play throughout the entire week. Another thing to mention is that, remember, Jupiter just went direct, and Jupiter is in Gemini. As it moves through Gemini, typically a planet, it takes a few steps forward, right? And a few steps back in a retrograde motion. Well, it is instead going to zoom through Gemini, enter Cancer, and frankly get to almost the last decan of Cancer before it moves backwards. This means you will have opportunities in the Gemini area of life, in the early Cancer area of life, and you need to be poised. There will be an abundance of information flowing through, an abundance of ideas. Jupiter in Gemini is throwing a lot of things at the wall to see what sticks. So we have to be prepared for that once every 12-year cycle to take advantage of those opportunities, even in the context of these other uncertainties. So useful to look back 12 years and see what was going on in the life and in that area of life. And so try to get some traction this week, especially because Jupiter's not interacting with other planets. It's kind of unencumbered this week. And so that can be a very positive, buoyant boost, especially if it's interacting positively in your own chart. So let's go day by day. I will say though, really, I feel like this week, instead of having these distinct chapters, it's going to feel more like a wave of strong emotionality. So Mercury squaring Uranus, that's how we start the week, right? With the mind being very agitated. Then the sun moves through and also squares Uranus very next day. Our full moon is on Wednesday the 12th at 8:53 a.m. Eastern. It's at 24 minutes or 24 degrees of the sign of Leo, if you know your chart. In that clash with both the sun and the moon, we have that lovely flow with Mars and Saturn, though. That is there to support us. Okay, Mars and Saturn in harmony, these two planets that are considered malefic planets, to have them blending well does help us to manage this overwhelm of energy. Then we have Mercury slipping into Pisces on the 14th, which is a very different energy. Mercury in Aquarius, much more scientific. Mercury in Pisces, much more influenced by its environment, much more slippery, so to speak. And so watch that as well. And then we prepare for next week where the volatility begins to ramp up a little bit more. So I feel like this is a week of, again, staying very nimble and change fluent, change embracing. And then the end of the week is kind of like, okay, now we absorb the change. We have the new chessboard, right? We have the new players. We have the new rules. And then how are we going to follow through? All right, I've already done the tarot. It's pretty interesting. Definitely shows a lot of worry and concern during the week. There's a lot of swords in the tarot. And so anything you can do to steady the mind, mantra, breath work, time in nature, go ahead and put those into your calendar for the week so that you're prepared for that as well. Sometimes, especially I think if your Uranian energy is interacting personally with the chart, it almost feels like being electrocuted. There's an electrical charge to it. And with also the sun experiencing a lot of extreme weather on the sun and Leo being ruled by the sun, you've got to find a way to really process all that electrical energy that you're receiving. So stay grounded, be wise, and I wish you a marvelous week. If this was helpful, please comment below. I always appreciate feedback from you, and let's check out the tarot. Hello and namaste, my beautiful friends. Welcome to your Isis Lotus Tarot spread for the week of February the 10th, 2025. So let's see what the cards have to say about this week. A lot of similar energy to last week. A lot of things that are just kind of, everything's in retrograde and everything's pausing and slowing down or pausing to move forward. So a lot of volatility there. Just reading for the collective. All right. So this is the first card's where we're coming from, okay? So where are we coming from? Queen of Wands. We've been trying to take care of things, all right? And then the environment, well, we're trying to be prepared, all right? We know that's not a time to leap forward, but we're trying to be prepared. And we have some very, very difficult emotions about it all, right? We're feeling not so great, all right? The mind is not helping us very much. But we also have new ideas, things that we really want to move forward with. Now, the key card of the future is the Knight of Wands, which means we have to be poised to take a quick action. There's something we're going to need to be reactive to. Now, on the one side, justice, it could be we need to take a legal action. It may be that we have to make a big decision where we have to weigh out our head and heart, balance the two. Or it could be that we're in the skill building phase, right? 8 of Pentacles. We're learning things that we are going to apply to our future. Now, another key card here, Temperance. We cannot go to extremes, all right? This is not a time to go all in one direction. There has to be a certain amount of balance and moderation. I keep getting the image of someone standing on a board that's like on a triangle, right? And trying to pivot back and forth, trying to balance. On the justice side, we have the Fool, which reminds you you're a manifester. On the 8 of Pentacles side, the Knight of Swords, which reminds you you must be logical. Paired with Justice and the Fool, we have the World card. So I'm loving this. Major Arcana popping up. You've got to know that you will be successful. You will achieve what you want. You will have what you need. On the 8 of Swords, or 8 of Pentacles, Knight of Swords side, we have the 6 of Swords, which indicates you will find a safer place to go if that is what you need. 2 potential outcomes on the Justice, Fool, and World side. 2 of Swords. Be careful about self-deception. On the 8 of Pentacles, Knight of Swords, 6 of Swords side, more swords. Gosh, the 9 of Swords. There's indicating a lot of worry here, okay? A lot of worry. Especially when, think of Mercury getting to the very end of Aquarius, those very late degrees, there's a lot of pressure. And then it slips into Pisces. It's like a rug pull. So watch the mind, steady the mind with mantra. Now, over on the Justice, Fool, World, 2 of Pentacles, or 2 of Swords side, I've got 2 cards that have come up. I've got the Argument card, the 5 of Wands, and I've got the Queen of Cups. There's some internal drama here. There's some internal, both of these cards, Two of Swords and the Five of Wands, I think these are you battling with yourself in some way, and you need to instead embrace this Queen of Cups energy. Remember that you're the healer, you're the helper, you're here to do that work. And on the Eight of Pentacles, Knight of Swords, Six of Swords, Nine of Swords side, strength, patience, the divine feminine qualities, slow down. So this is a pretty volatile week, but it looks like we will need to spring into action. We must remember to be temperate. We either have a pretty major karmic situation going down where we have to make a big decision that we might not feel the greatest about. Okay, we have to use our intuition to make sure that we don't, it's not about rationalizing, it's about understanding the bigger picture, I think. And then on the other side, we're really working on gaining skills that will get us to a better place. Now, again, there's still a lot of stressors here, but we must be very patient. A lot of this indicates a quick reactive energy and then potentially oh my, what have I done moment. So slow down, do the best you can, trust yourself. I hope you have a wonderful week.